Hi peeps. So I'm going to share a little bit about how I work with tarot and oracle decks together. And these two decks in particular, I have been using on my own personal path with tarot over the last few weeks. I've been kind of playing around with combining these two together. And it's been a pretty fucking awesome experience working with both of these together. So I thought that I would demonstrate how you can use a dark themed tarot deck with a lighter, more kind of popular oracle deck in order to get clarification for yourself when it comes to working with, your personal tarot practice. So the decks that I'm going to be using today to demonstrate this for you is the Murder of Crows Tarot, because as you guys know, I love and adore this deck. I am going to have a review coming to the channel. I know one of you reminded me of that the other day. And then this is, of course, I left the box downstairs, the Seven Energies Oracle by Colette, Barron. I did an unboxing of this last year and I really was not impressed with this deck. However, I have to say over time, it's really grown on me. And this is more of a lighter themed kind of new age, if you will, type of oracle deck. And I thought it would be nice to demonstrate for you guys that you can still get a lot of meat out of working with a deck like this, especially when you combine it with a tarot deck. So I'm going to do a sample reading right now. I know when I do these type of sample reads, some of you end up feeling like the reading was really personal and it was for you. So if you feel like this reading is for you, please feel free to go ahead and claim it for yourself. But let's say that I'm doing a 3-card spread to gain some insight into my spiritual path at this time. So I'm going to draw 3 cards from tarot. I have 4 of Pentacles, 7 of Pentacles, and the Ace of Pentacles. So I'm just going to show you guys that right now. So let's say I have an awareness that in regards to my personal spiritual path right now, I'm exploring being open when it comes to my heart center. Expressing my vulnerability with my guides here with the 4 of Pentacles, but also experiencing in my earth path in conjunction with my spiritual work an openness and a vulnerability in my sense of connection and experience with others. Perhaps I'm choosing to share instead of just listen, right? And choosing to put my heart out there in a positive way, not in an unhealthy way. And the spiritual work is dovetailing with this beautifully because it's helping me to open up to knowing that it is safe to share. So the 4 of Pentacles here is a beautiful message of looking at and examining when we build walls to protect ourselves and how we can take those down, right? So we're seeing that with the 4 of Pentacles. 7 of Pentacles here, letting us know that this is also a pause in regards to the spiritual journey right now. There's like a reevaluation that I or you, if this reading resonates for you, might be doing in regards to my spiritual work. Is there a practice that's not resonating anymore? Is it time to examine and explore a new practice, or to look at what I might be feeling called to explore spiritually as far as practices go that I haven't dived into personally before? So 7 of Pentacles is saying this is a time for reevaluation. It's a pause. It's getting clear about what's working for me in regards to my spirituality and what's not. So let's say I want to clarify this for myself. Let's say I want some insight into what I'm ready to release in regards to spiritual practices at this time. So now I'm going to go to my oracle deck. And when I'm asking for clarification, I just want to say this while I'm demonstrating, I'm not just thinking about anything. I'm thinking about my specific question that I want to clarify. So I'm thinking about here with the 7 of Pentacles energy, what is it that I'm ready to release or to shift in regards to my current spiritual practices? And then I have Wish Upon a Star showing up here. Now, when you're working with an oracle deck to clarify, I just want to kind of share a little bit how I will kind of suss out the message that's being offered here. So the first thing that I notice is that there is a child in the picture, which for me always calls to mind inner child work, paying attention to, bringing awareness to loving and nurturing the inner child within oneself. And this can be really impactful when it comes to our spiritual work, right? It's a beautiful part of our spiritual journey to honor the inner child and to do inner child work. And so we can see this through the Wish Upon a Star card. However, because I'm looking at what I'm ready to release or perhaps shift in regards to my spiritual practice, it might be time to do a deeper dive into grounding. And I say this because I'm asking what is it that I'm looking at shifting or releasing in a spiritual practice at this time. And the card is showing me that I've been doing a lot of this work. So it may be that it's time to shift into a more grounded elemental practice over the next month or so. Kind of solidifying the energetic work of nurturing the inner child that I've been engaged in. So do you see, I asked a very specific question and then I paid attention to what I drew with the card and what came up for me as I was looking at the image. I'm not so much concerned with the guidebook when it comes to this deck. I'm not saying it's not a good guidebook, you should definitely read it. But when it comes to offering clarification in a reading, especially with a dark themed deck, this is giving me the reflection, right? So I really want to hone in on and pay attention to my intuition here. And we see this very strongly, that there has been perhaps a lot of inner child work and it's time to get into a grounded, rooted elemental practice. We also, all three of these cards are in the element of earth. And so there's a real sense with this that I may need some grounding, or if this reading resonates for you, it may be a time where you really need some grounding. And so working with that earth element, working with representations of the elements in our spiritual practice, in our toolkit, might be something that's important to step into at this time. So let's say that I have the Ace of Pentacles that I'm looking at, and let's say I'm really stumped about this one. So why is the Ace of Pentacles here? This is the question I would ask while I shuffled my Oracle deck in order to get clarification. So why is the Ace of Pentacles showing up in regards to my spiritual path? I'm gonna pull this one because it's sticking out. Okay, opening to discovery. So this is affirming for me that I am being called to embrace new practices and let go of, for a season or two, practices that I've currently been engaged in on my path. Because the clarification was opening to discovery, and we see this keyhole here and this kind of open energy to the universe. And it's married to the Ace of Pentacles, which is saying that there's an opportunity for a new beginning in regard to that physical aspect, that grounded aspect that I was just talking about with spiritual practice. There's a real beautiful energy of abundance in regards to really connecting with that earth element. And so for me personally, that would mean more shamanic practice as opposed to that kind of inner child shadow work. And this is an affirmation of that. And this card has clarified and affirmed that for me. Once again, I'm not really concerned with the guidebook meaning. I'm concerned more with what intuitively I feel when I look at the images together, and being able to provide myself or a client with real clarity through the additional Oracle card pull. Now, also, just me being me, I would equate this with Hecate because I do have a key here, a skeleton key specifically. So for me, this would also mean that I may wish to journey or connect with Hecate on my practice. Now I want to look at the spread as a whole and be able to offer myself a conclusion, a summation of what the spread has said. And so I can see here that I'm being called to open up my heart, to share authentically with others at a personal level, right? I can see that it's time for me to kind of pause and reevaluate and look at practices that I'm ready to shift. What are some of those practices that I'm ready to shift? A focus on inner child and shadow work can now move into more of a seasonal shamanic approach with a focus on the elements, specifically the earth element. And I may indeed want to journey with Hecate here. This is going to give me a deep sense of connection to the goddess, but also she will assist me in what I need to carry forward on my spiritual path. So that's an example of using a deck like this for clarification from a tarot deck. I'm gonna give you one more example. So let's see, what do we want to look at for a second example here? Let me take a sip of tea while I think about that. Okay, I'm going to give you the example of a 1-card draw with an additional oracle card draw. This is something that I do for myself every morning, as many of you know, and it's something I've been finding really impactful working with both of these decks. So let's say I want to know what I need to know for the day. What do I need to know for this day? Ace of Pentacles. All right, guys, I definitely get that message, but let's do a different card for this demonstration. Don't you love it when your guides are like, no, you really need to hear this right now. Oh, I just accidentally drew 2. I have the Queen of Cups and the Emperor here. Isn't this deck just gorgeous? I fucking love this deck so much. So here I have the Emperor and the Queen of Cups. It's reversed as I look at it in the screen. So for a second I was like, wait, that's not the Lovers. That can't be the Lovers. It's not. It's the Emperor. Anyhow, so this is my daily draw. This is a very interesting energy. First of all, we know it's fire and water of water. And as we look at the 2 images together, there's definitely a sense of authority, of sovereignty, of being empowered. But there's also a sense of balancing a need to be in charge with a nurturing, intuitive energy that we see here. So let's draw from the Oracle of the 7 Energies. Look at that, and I had 2 fall out. Apparently we are not doing just 1 card draw today. The Oracle's Gift and Smoke and Mirrors. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate for you how this can clarify this. Okay, so there's a couple ways you could do it. You could clarify, you know, one each, right? You could clarify with 1 each, but I actually kind of like the flow of the 4 together and how it looks and feels. So I can tell right away from this draw that there's something intuitively I'm going to be picking up on, but I'm not going to be able to be 100% clear about what it is that I'm picking up on. Perhaps something's going to feel off for me as I move through the day. Maybe with a person in my life, an individual in my life. Could be an Aries, could be a water sign, yes, but I don't really feel that in regards to this. I feel like there's an individual or a person in my life that I'm going to feel like I'm picking up on something in regards to them, but I'm not 100% sure what it is. And it's very important for me to remember I can't pick up 100% on what it is. I can't be clear about it because I'm not unbiased when it comes to this person, right? So it's going to be very important to first and foremost trust the intuition that there is something going on there, but also to know when it's time to stand back and hold a space, as opposed to rushing in and trying to fix something for someone or to have something make sense. So in regards to what I'm referencing right now, and if this resonates for you, then you may indeed feel like this pull is for you. You know, sometimes maybe the person that we feel like something's off with isn't ready to address or deal with what they're currently emotionally trying to avoid or kind of plumbing the depths of for themselves, right? And so it's very important to be the Emperor in its upright position and the Queen of Cups in her upright position of understanding that everyone has their own timeline for dealing with their shit, right? And so taking a step back, not taking it personally, and staying present to offering love and compassion as empowering for those people in our life or this individual in our life is a much better space to be in than trying to demand that someone tell us what's going on, right? So, and that can be a fine line as empaths, because sometimes we really do know something's off and someone is not ready to deal with it, and it's hard to surrender control of like forcing them to acknowledge something. But all this energy is a lot of intuitive energy, but it's also a little bit murky, and we do need that Emperor to clarify for us when it's time to address something and when it's time to just hold the space, right? So this is one way that we could look at these cards together, that we're picking up on something in regards to someone in our life, but it's very important that we don't react, that we are considerate and allow the situation to unfold as it will. We could also apply this personally for ourselves. We may be feeling a little bit off throughout the day. How can we hold space for ourselves and not try to force ourselves to get things done or do things if we're not in the right space for it? How can we gently honor where we're at without forcing something that we may not be able to deal with either? So you can see this energy is all about balancing and knowing that even though we can sense something, we can't always see the whole picture. So if I wanted further clarity on that, what is this in regards to now that I've sussed this energy out? So I'm going to go back to tarot for this because I love to go back to tarot. Queen of Pentacles. So for me as a reader, I would say, okay, this probably has something to do with a child or a very close family member in my life. And it's very important that I think before I speak and before I act as I move throughout the day. Now, you could also interpret this as a need for one to nurture oneself more throughout the day as well. And so you could also apply it to yourself, perhaps being in a sensitive space. And instead of trying to forcibly push through it with the Emperor in shadow, we can choose to be honest with ourselves, but to nurture and care for ourselves as well. So this is an example of how you can use kind of a lighter deck in feeling, a lighter oracle deck in feeling, with a more shadow, darker themed deck, and really get clarification, you know, real clarification for yourself, not just nebulous clarification, but concrete clarification for yourself, with this beautiful juxtaposition or this beautiful marriage of working with both the oracle and the tarot. I hope you found this helpful. I really have to say, guys, that I'm really, really in love with working with these two decks together, and I did not expect it to happen. I did not enjoy this oracle deck when I first purchased it. I had a lot of feelings and thoughts about like how it was, I felt like it was kind of phoned in, if I recall correctly. Someone correct me if I'm wrong there. But I actually really like the feel of this deck, and I like this imagery juxtaposed with this really black and white and gray kind of sharp imagery that you see in the Murder of Crows tarot. So it's this really fun balance, and I just thought I would share a little bit about working with both of these decks together and how you can get the most out of it. So I hope you are all doing well out there in the world. I am sending you so much love and many blessings, and I will see you in the next video.